Hi everyone, I'm Jojo from December Fingerboards, and this is going to be part 2 of our fingerboard park build. I have a lot to do, so let's get right to it. I want to make quite a few cast concrete obstacles for the park, so first I put together a program for the CNC to test an idea. I prepped a couple pieces of wood and shaped them into what will eventually become a concrete curb. Certain things are done faster by hand, like the big roundover on the edge, which I'm doing at the finger snatcher, aka the router table. Here I'm drilling a bunch of tiny holes into the rebates of the brick texture. That's because I'm going to be vacuum forming this piece of wood and I need to make sure air can flow into every little nook and cranny. On the underside, I'm enlarging those holes and connecting them with the network of channels so that air has plenty of space to get sucked out of. I was about to get vacuum forming and I realized it would be awesome to engrave the December logo on the piece, so I did that. I wasn't thinking and I varnished the workpiece, which was not a good idea. Vacuum forming uses heat to make the plastic malleable, so when doing it, it kind of melted the varnish and made it stick to the mold, which made it a little hard to demold. Not impossible though. That's our mold done and looking real good. The airflow holes worked a treat. There's a bit of webbing at the edges, but that's not a problem in our case. Next, I put together a little support plate for the mold. Because the plastic I used is so thin, it's actually the same one we used for the packaging of our boards, it needs a bit of support so as not to bow under the weight when we pour the concrete into it. Speaking of concrete, I mixed some with a bit of blue pigment and tested my mold. It's my first time making a vacuum formed mold actually, so I wanted to do a test before making more. I thoroughly vibrated the mold and leveled it as best I could. I dumped the excess concrete into some cinder block silicone molds that belong to the Dirty Monkey's fingerboard shop here in Buenos Aires. The next day I could demold the curbs.
Look at that. Okay, let's get it out. Oh, wow. No, boludo. Mira esto, boludo. Quedó genial.
Just gotta take the edges off a little bit and then it's gonna be good to go. It still has to harden for a little bit too, because it's very fresh.
No.
Look at those little cute cinder blocks. I actually made that mold a couple of years ago when I was still a part of Dirty Monkey's Fingerboards. Nowadays we do share the same premises and they have the fingerboard shop in the front and I have my workshop in the back. I applied sealer to the concrete and got to making the other vacuum formed molds. This time I didn't use the CNC because I figured that the geometry was so simple it would take pretty much the same amount of time making them by hand. I cut 2 pieces of wood to the right size and I started marking where the brick pattern would go. I first cut a shallow groove at the table saw and then I moved on to the bandsaw to make the shorter grooves on the top of the ledge. I used a square clamped to the table as a stop block. I couldn't do the rest of the grooves at the bandsaw and at first I considered using a chisel, but I ended up using the multi-tool. And just like that, here is the texture cut into the pieces, and just like the curb, I'm gonna put a round over on it, and I'm also rounding over the ends. Then I vacuum formed it and it worked a treat.
It's buenísima.
That's pretty cool. This dude knows a lot of shit. Just saying.
And in very much the same fashion, I vacuum formed other pieces for other parts of the park. This pyramid was pretty fun to make, and also the tallest thing I'd thermoformed up until now.
Wow.
Alright, so vacuum forming is cool, but another way you can make concrete molds is with scrap wood. I want to put a concrete edge here, so I cut a template out of tape and I transferred it to a piece of melamine that I got from the dumpster. And then I cut up some more to make the walls of the mold. The reason I'm using melamine is because it's basically non-stick and super smooth, and that smooth texture will transfer to the concrete. It doesn't look like much, but after sealing it with silicone, it will give us a nice, smooth, finished piece. This bigger mold was made the exact same way.
So right now I'm applying a layer of paste wax to the inside of the mold, so that then I'm gonna put silicone in the seams and get a nice radius for the coping, and the excess silicone will release easily because of the paste wax. And this is a technique I learned from Modustrial maker Mike Clifford on YouTube.
After the silicone cured, I came back and cleaned off the excess, which was really easy.
That should be pretty good.
I prepped and cleaned all the molds, and it's finally time to pour all the concrete.
So the mix ratio I'm using for the concrete is 3 parts sand, 2 parts cement, 1 part water, and that usually makes for a very strong mix. So if you want to make concrete ramps, I would recommend using that. And why I'm tapping this is to get the air bubbles out, so that the bottom, or at least the outcome of the ledge, has no bubbles in it, no imperfections. And yes, you are supposed to wear respiratory protection and gloves, but so yeah, do what I say, not what I do. Got it.
As you can see, I mixed pigments in some of the ramps, which I thought would add a nice touch. It did, except the yellow, which didn't turn out quite as intense as I wanted. And of course, I didn't mix enough, so I had to pause and mix some more. While that's curing, I turned my attention to this garden fence. Really, it's a piece of my grandma's furniture, but now it's a tiny garden fence. I put it in a vise to bend it flat. To unbend it flat. To flatten it unbent.
No! Have to be softer. God damn it.
At the CNC, I cut this piece to which I'll be able to fasten the fence. I used the heat gun to heat up the corner I wanted to bend, but I have zero metalworking knowledge, so let's all listen to that corner as it breaks because I didn't heat it up enough. Anyways, I trimmed off the excess and tried to smooth out the break with a file. Finally, I could fasten it to the park structure.
So I got lazy and I was gonna do another super intricate custom mold, but like I'm really tired of making molds at the moment. But then I just remembered I have this thing, which is the handle of an old vacuum cleaner. It was my grandma's. And look at that, it's a crazy good looking handrail, and like also it's so heavy. Like how are you supposed to move a vacuum cleaner with that as a handle when you're a grandma? What the hell?
To have some meat to screw into, I hammered in a piece of wood in the end of the tube. This is how I ended up attaching it to the stairs. It didn't work so well, so I'll change it up in the future, but for now it's holding. I really need to get a welder. Next, I moved my attention to the brick ledge that will go on the other stair set. Luckily, I had one last piece of 2x6 I could scavenge to make it. It was a tad thick, so I took several passes at the table saw to get it to thickness. Then I started cutting the stair shape into it using the table saw for the long straight lines, and then the bandsaw and handsaw for the harder to reach areas. I fine-tuned the fit a little. And then I drilled some holes in the park and in the ledge. Into which I hammered some dowels, which will enable me to reference and securely attach the ledge to the park, but also take it out if I want to. Then I added all of the bricks one by one, using a straight edge to make sure I was getting a straight edge. And thank you to Dirty Monkeys, who provided the bricks.
That's some pretty badass shit.
These bricks are pretty rough, so they need a little of the wax treatment, which was given by Franco.
Ok, bueno, te ofrezco dos cosas. Puedes o meterle toda la vela o hacer el quemado.
Quiero hacer el quemado. Of course.
Okay, first trick on the ledge. Nice. It's blessed. It's blessed. If the first trick is a success, it's blessed. There you go.
The next day, it was time for the very satisfying concrete reveal.
It's looking really good. Oh, wow! It looks so good. Oh. Buttery smooth. Ah. What? Oh, I'm gonna grab the fingerboard first.
Serious model.
Oh, yeah! Look at that!
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah. Jeez. Fuck yeah. Oh. Looks so good. Very crisp. It's very crisp. Crisp corner. Nice. That's really funny. That did not work.
You're medio weirdo.
A ver, ¿dónde está? O sea, puede andar. Sí, se anda, pero... So, actually, the concrete version of this did not work. It was a lot of weight for the thin plastic, but I just realized I can just put some veneer on this and it's gonna be awesome because, I mean, that's the shape it was supposed to have. It was supposed to be concrete, it's gonna be wood, it's gonna be great. So, that is the biggest of all the castings. And actually it was so big, we put a big chunk of wood right here to save on concrete and so that it wouldn't be that heavy.
Whoa.
The silicone technique I used, the edge is still a little too crisp. I wanted something rounder, but it did work, so that's a new technique I learned. And oh la, yes!
Oh, yeah.
As you can see, the walls are quite thick. They're about an inch thick if you're in the US, 25 mil. And that's because I really like the feel of a thick slab of concrete. I'm not really a fan of these concrete parks that are a very thin layer of concrete over like polystyrene blocks of foam. Of course, it comes at the cost of weight, but the feel of a nice thick slab of concrete is just the best when fingerboarding. So whenever I can, I try to get a thick piece of concrete where it matters, just for the feel. It's a good feel. Let's put that on the part. Will it fit? Oh! Holy crap!
Oof.
Boca?
Eso, de ahí a la baranda, yo decía.
Oh! That's nice. See? So, the thing is, when you design the stuff, you think roughly, okay, I'm gonna ride it like that, it's gonna ride like this, but then you see it in person, and like a whole range of tricks appears. So, don't overthink too much the design, because it's always gonna result in being something a lot more stimulating and something that operates differently than what you initially imagined. Like, I never thought of using this like that, but it actually feels like a super realistic spot. Like the very short run up and just dook, and then just the tiniest moment where you can land a trick on the rail. This is really nice. Like, I feel this is super skatey for some reason. I feel the randomness of how these two things relate to each other. I feel it's super skateboarding, like big skateboard. Like coming here and doing any kind of trick here is going to be super challenging. It's super short. This one is really totally accessory, but I was just like, it would be a nice touch. So like, I really hate the feeling of sliding on wood. I just don't think it's nice at all. So I just wanted that to be a nice little addition. Woo! Nice sound. You can also like flow into it. That's cool. That was a good idea. I think so. Okay, pensa.
I guess so too.
After all this esoteric rambling about the skatistic feel of the spot, Matti helped me put the finishing touches on the park.
This is how we do it. See you later, alligator.
And we could finally install it. And we can now call the park done. It's available to shred for free along with all the other parks I made at the shop here in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Come visit! Along with this video, I released a full-blown fingerboard edit on the park with the boys, so check that one next if you're in the mood for some quality fingerboarding. Thanks very much for watching. Please consider subscribing and supporting us financially on Patreon if you can, or you can also get one of our high-quality December fingerboards at december.ar. Bye!